do that kind of stuff when I was a programmer.
Ah, so much fun.
Or you can tell it's old because I say programmer and not coder.
What language are you best at, Floyd?
All right, so we'll call to order the September 20th, 2021 Caroline County Broadband Advisory Committee. The agenda was emailed out to everybody. Hopefully you guys all have a copy. If not, I know David currently has it up on his screen, but we'll be referring to other things, so it might not stay up on the screen.
Recording in progress.
So let's first touch on, are there any amendments to this agenda? Does anybody have anything else that we want to add to this, or?
Better yet, it's a long agenda. It's going to take us a while to get through this.
But it's a good agenda. It's a good agenda. A lot of good information in this one. David, just real quick, I'll touch on the minutes from the last meeting. If everybody's in favor, and I guess, does this require a motion for us to put off reading those minutes and adopting them until next meeting?
Did you send out the minutes?
They have not been completed or finalized, Mr. Thomas.
You can waive the reading of the minutes till the next meeting.
Okay, does that require a motion or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the reading of the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. We will read those in the next one. With all the VATI stuff going on and trying to make sure that we got the grants out, that was our #1 priority, to make sure all of that got taken care of and double and triple and quadruple checked all the way across the board. So we apologize for that, but we will take care of that next time. I don't think we have anything on the consent agenda at this point. Since we didn't have any amendments to the meeting or agenda, I think we'll go ahead and move over the consent agenda. And we will move on to old business first. And #1 on the agenda is an update on Starlink.
Mr. Chairman, I had a conversation earlier today with a representative from Starlink, and they've advised, I voiced a concern of the publicity that they're getting on some of the social media websites, especially the ones related to Caroline, about not notifying anybody or not shipping any devices. Some people were under the impression that they should have the devices by the end of the summer. I think I was able to determine where that came from. Elon Musk made a statement at a World Congress on Internet meeting where he said that they would be shipping by the end of September or by the end of the summer, and that's not consistent with what the company is saying. So the company is saying that they still will ship devices by the end of 2021. It may actually go into early 2022 because they've been hampered by the chip shortage that everybody else has had. They didn't have any launches of any satellites carrying spaceships carrying satellites through the summer because of that shortage. And they've just now recently resumed that. So that's thrown them a little bit later. It may go into 2022. And again, there's some erroneous information that they're going off of beta. That was again from a tweet. But the official word is that they are not going off beta yet. They don't have the satellites or the network in place to support the full service. So they will be going off beta probably in the same time frame of the shipping, either later this year or first part of next year. But as for now, they are still on beta. They still plan to ship those dishes and equipment out either later this year or first part of 2022.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I was just reading because I know this weekend I was reading a lot on them potentially leaving. Sorry about that. My phone started ringing, probably muted my audio. I was reading a bunch of tweets this weekend and articles that were written up about leaving beta in October of 2021. I just checked my order and mine does say mid 2021 until late 2021. So I guess with the chip shortage, that might change eventually to 2022. We'll see. But interesting information.
Now, Jason, did you have to pay anything?
Yes, $99 up front. My order was actually on February 8th is when I paid $99 to be like a down deposit or something like that. So
Thought that was the case. We probably need to publish something. Well, once we get to a certain point in the agenda, things we need to put on the county website, and maybe that's one to kind of track the number of people who paid for that.
okay. Yeah, because if we can get kind of an idea of people that are looking at that service, I mean, I figured, worst case scenario, I can install this. The only problem is here where we are, there's a lot of trees. So I don't know how much coverage I'm going to get here at my house, but I'm actually part of a Facebook group. It's called Hack Starlink. It's basically the way people have come up with interesting ways of moving the Starlink satellite further away from their house into clearings. So it's more of a technology hack as far as setting up a Wi-Fi or a fiber optic beam from the middle of a field back over to their house, which is inside of the trees. So that was interesting, kind of looking at all the ways people are getting around living in the middle of trees. So yeah, I've been following that one quite a bit here recently.
Yeah, I think it's important to follow that particular application, because even with the VATI grants, we're 18 months away from award. So we're looking at sometime in 2023 before we get the number we want. Maybe that's a short-term solution, if it is a solution at all.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, not a problem. Anything else on Starlink from anybody? All right.
I did
Go ahead.
in the conversation, I did request that it would be nice if we could get some kind of official press release, since our NDAs prevent us from saying a whole lot about it in detail and prohibits us from making any kind of press releases. So I have requested it. The liaison that I spoke with assured me that everybody's requesting it, including herself, and they have yet to receive anything. So we just have to be careful because of the NDAs with what we can't make any press release on behalf of them.
Right. There's some interesting technology if you go out there and look at their websites and all the feeds and that they're planning on doing to speed it up as far as launching new satellites here soon, hopefully with laser backbones and things like that. So to potentially speed up their network. So I think they're calling it the version 2 of the satellite that's supposed to start launching, I believe. The last article I read was sometime in September/October that they were going to start launching those. And they're calling them like Gen 2 of the satellites with laser backbones. So that was pretty interesting feed. So, all right. Anything else on that? All right, let's move on to number 2, which is update on the VATI 2021 process.
Yeah, thank goodness we can say VATI 2021 project because the project has started. Any day now, they should finish the design and engineering for the Ladysmith Road portion of that project, which is the last portion that we have in design and engineering. Or actually, not the last, but it's towards the last. Once that's complete, then we will receive a bill and start paying some bills towards that project. Just we're looking at later next year, November, December timeframe, if everything continues to go on track and they're able to get parts and people to put everything together. That project should hopefully go to sales and start connecting people in November, December of next year. That's barring any delays. So,
Is that
And what-
outside the timeline?
no, that's the 2021 project. That's probably, they have 18 months from July, so they would actually have,
Till the end of the year.
yeah, to the end of the year.
Not 18 months from when they notified us in March.
No, it'll be 18 months from the date of the contract signing, which was the end of July. So that there'll be a few months earlier than that. Now, if they start running into, and they've done a lot of work to get materials and contractors lined up, the size of the VATI 22 project is going to probably make some of that even more difficult. So they've done everything they can to line up workers and supplies. They have a lot of the supplies already. So they intend to be finished up by the end of next year. However, DHCD does acknowledge that there can be delays due to construct equipment or personnel. So they will allow an extension, but at this point, everything is on track to complete on time. So we don't foresee an extension on that project.
David, one quick question that I had on that is, do you foresee, and again, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but in any of your talkings or anything, do we feel like they might turn on as they finish different sections of the project? Because I know we have the, the Route 17 area that getting, that's one part of the project. Then we have the Ladysmith, and then we have Panola Road. Do we feel as they do different sections that they might turn on, or are they planning on waiting until the very end and turning everybody on at the same time?
No, they will complete a project. There are different groups working in each area. So once the project is completed, the timelines and the milestones by DHCD require that once the construction is completed, they have to turn it over and then get field certification of speeds. Once that's completed, then the construction is final completion, and they turn it over to sales, and that'll be done in sections. So if one section gets done earlier than the other, then those people would have it sooner.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else on that?
Yeah, I had a question. It's all, I guess, wiring from the power poles and into the houses. Is there anything that the schools can do, like an internship program or anything like that, that we could possibly help them with and help students with? David?
I'm not sure, because I think the majority of this is going to have to be completed, and certified by Atlantic Broadband in order to be able to receive the funding. So there has to be ABB techs on scene, at each location to do the connection and verify the speed and be able to report that back. So I can definitely bring that up to ABB in our next project managers meeting, which I believe is this. I think we have one this week, so I'll bring that up and see what they advise.
Maybe you could get Mr. Robinson in on that, since he represents the schools, and just to see if there's a possibility of an internship program, something that we can help them help us. And definitely mention the fact that we'd like to help with the customer service part.
Yeah, that continues to be a concern, and we addressed that at the managers meeting for the different project managers for the 4 counties, and it was pretty unanimous concerns in that area. Atlantic Broadband is addressing that. They've hired a large amount of customer service staff as well as installers and service field techs to answer not only new installations, but trouble calls. And they've already hired those positions, but there is a pretty intensive several month training that they have to go through. So they're working to help improve that, and we'll keep the group updated as we hear more.
I'd be happy to help. I used to run a call center, so I'd be happy to help any way they can there. And sometimes with new folks, you give them a script and they can answer 90% of the problems before they get to a real technical person. Like, we all know what's the first question. Is it turned on? And then we go from there, but that's something we need to work on. Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else about the 2021?
I believe that's
All
it.
right. All right. Let's go ahead and discuss the 2022 VATI grant. I just want to first say thank you, David, Mr. Sadler, for all of your long hours. I want to make sure that you're recognized for all the long hours and the hours that have been put in by other people on this, making sure that we can get the VATI grant put in on time to even give Caroline County a fighting chance for this. So again, I appreciate that. And Mr. Thomas, I'd like to personally thank the board for being willing to back us up and to hear about this, and being willing to let us go forward with this process. So thank you.
You're definitely welcome.
Yes, so the hard work of this committee and Mr. Thomas and Mr. Seeley and their support and support of the Board of Supervisors made that application possible. Without every little piece fitting in perfectly, we would have never been able to submit the 20+ page applications with 2 different companies without having, for example, with the strategic plan to fall back on, and without the board adopting the plan for universal coverage. Now, that plan for universal coverage was the huge part of the 2022 application. Whereas in 2021, we took a regional approach to apply. 2022, the applications were weighted strongly in favor of localities that have a plan for universal coverage. So that being said, and all of this was within the last month, and that's all we've been working on. So based on the strategic plan, this committee at the last meeting okayed for me to go ahead and designate areas to be submitted in the application in order. With the huge influx of money to the 2022 project, over $700 million, we actually had a call with the HCD and said, okay, you want universal coverage. We can't, nobody can build universal coverage in an 18-month time frame. If we have a plan for universal coverage, can we get longer? And they advised us that if we included the RDOF areas in the application, which normally would have taken 6 years, that they could extend the overall project length to 3 years. So that being said, we kind of rescoped the projects using the direction from this committee in the areas and came up with a plan for universal coverage that will address universal coverage for everyone east of 95 in this particular grant application, and west of 95. A good portion of that was covered in this application with notification and willingness of Comcast to talk to us about completing the plan for universal coverage west of 95 in the next application. And it'll be a smaller project than the huge projects that we're looking at this year. But if the main thing that we need to stress is these are applications for competitive grants. So it's not a done deal. Broadband Telecom did an excellent job. I can't praise those guys enough. Right up to the last minute, they were whipping out different maps that we needed, filling in gaps. And I feel confident that we've submitted 2 quality applications with all of the necessary framework and paperwork and supportive documents that were requested, answering all those questions. You have both the short version that I emailed to you as well as the link to the entire application. The entire application had so much full color attachments that the size of that prohibited it from being emailed. So I provided you a link where you can go pull that and look at it. But we have 2 really good applications. It is totally dependent on whether we receive the award or not. So all we can do now is just monitor that and hope that happens. Let me see here. I think I have some maps to share. Can you guys see that map?
I got it unmuted. Yes, I got it. Yep.
Okay. So this is the Atlantic Broadband 2022 VATI application, the order in which we would cover those areas. If you notice the areas that are east of 95, there's some small carve outs, like down in the Carmel Church area that's currently served by Comcast. The other areas that are carved out are currently served by one of the, by somebody, either Atlantic Broadband currently or Comcast. So we work really close with Atlantic Broadband in developing this map. We went through and even some small pockets of just a few houses. We made sure we had those covered. So it's our intention to cover 100% of the addresses east of 95 in this particular application. Now, again, it is a competitive grant application. They reserve the right in the application documentation to break it into multiple projects and only award a portion. But again, we're kind of banking on the amount of money that they have to award. We're hoping that we can get an award for all 3 phases of our project. But just to go over the phases, phase 1 is the green or the aqua colored area. Down south, would be the Dawn area. That's 1,738 passings in that area. So that's a huge project. Immediately following that, now we're being told that based on, parts and equipment and manpower, that the projects may start all at the same time. But the emphasis has been on Dawn to be the first phase. Phase 2 is the Woodford area, goes all the way up through the center, through the heart of Woodford, and goes up around the Guinea area, and then goes out off of Route 2 to the east, all the way over to Route 17, and comes down to the 2021 project that's already been awarded and that's already under construction. That's phase 2. That's 1,196 homes. And then phase 3 is the RDOF area, the red area, that's already been awarded, but by RDOF, they have until, they have 6 years to complete that. So, and that's still actually in the long application approval. So that could be 6 or 7 years off had they not included that. Now, they did include that in the RDOF application. The really good thing, or in the VADI application, and the good thing is that because that's an RDOF awarded area, the county did not have to make a contribution per passing in that area. They used the RDOF money to supplement, and the numbers on the application still look good. So we're getting 3 or 4 years sooner in that RDOF area thanks to Atlantic Broadband. And I can't stress enough the hard work that those guys did, and just being able to submit this application in the time frame that we did. The quality of the application, they really did some tremendous amount of work. So that should cut off 3 or 4 years of those RDOF areas. And that would give us universal coverage of everything east of 95. The second project, thought I had that up, but I do have maps of the Comcast area showing 2021. Let me see if I can find that map for you. The file is damaged, but it's being repaired.
So David, just to make sure, these the VADI grants that were submitted by Caroline County to the VADI organization, are they available yet? Because I know last year they were available on the VADI website. Are they available this year yet, or do they have to go through some sort of preliminary stuff yet?
They've been uploaded in full definition. That's the 2 links that I sent in your email. That's a public link.
Okay.
Site. So you should be able to go to that and download it. It's available for all the public to download now.
And that's on www.dhcd.virginia.gov/VADI. So just to give people some information if they wanted to go out there and look at it or what have you, but it's underneath Caroline County. There's 2 separate ones out there.
Yeah, there's a Caroline County Comcast and a Caroline County Atlantic Broadband application. Both of them are on the site. So just I don't have a clean map of this year's project without having to open up the entire application. So this year's project that we applied for in 2022 covers, can you guys see the mouse okay?
Yep, I got you.
All right, so it starts down here on Jericho Road and goes up and covers these side roads that you see that are not colored all the way out to Charlesburg and then down Anderson Mill. Again, those areas are not colored because they're in the 2021. What we're looking at in color now is what we intend to submit to Comcast probably this week or next week. As soon as we get the addresses, we're working on taking a polygon that runs down beside 95 and covers all the way over to the county, and we'll get a list of addresses. From that, we can subtract the current customer base, and since we have not been provided a footprint from Comcast, we can can only assume that we know the approximate area. So what we're going to do is give them the addresses of everybody east or west of 95. And they could take out the addresses for the VATI 2022 project, as well as their current customer base, and anything left over should be their customers that they've not extended the lines to. Just in general, we did miss Oxford Road. Again, we were looking for a 50-mile project when we originally talked to them. And so we did miss Oxford Road, as well as some of the tan and the pink polygons out in the Charlesburg area. We just couldn't fit those in a 50-mile project. And then the light blue is County Line Church Road. But all of those areas would be submitted to Comcast for their consideration, their design, and to come up with the numbers so that we are prepared to submit a VATI 2023 project to cover that area. So that being said, we have everything over here covered in 2022 project. We have all of this area through here covered in 2022 project, which is going to leave us with these areas, and possibly a couple of other small pockets within those areas. But if we're successful in 2022, and then we submit a 2023 for the remaining areas, then Caroline County would have universal coverage from county line to county line. Let's see if I can get back to this. Just so everybody knows, there's 2 address points right here that are showing outside the county line, which are actually over in King William. We had to chase those down because to figure out why these 2 points populated outside. It come to find out, the driveway, it's a long driveway that goes into King William that actually goes back and connects to an address in Caroline. So the address is in Caroline, but the house is actually in King William. We had to chase down those 2 addresses, and they've been removed from the application since they are outside of our county. So you do see a couple of dots right there, and they were actually removed before the final submission of the application.
Okay.
And that's not unusual because we had that same thing with Essex during tax season. So
hopefully, again, we have a good, strong application for both companies. We have a good, strong plan, thanks to the Board of Supervisors and thanks to Mr. Thomas and Mr. Seeley, who worked hard with this committee to develop that strategic plan and then also support the plan for universal coverage. Again, without the support and the financial support of the board, none of this would even be possible. At least at this point, we have a good hope that will be successful. Just keep in mind, we always have to preface that by saying that it is a competitive grant application, and all the paperwork has been submitted. Now all we can do is wait. Other than that, are there any questions about the 2022 application that we can try to cover for you before we move on?
All right. I think that was good. Thank you, David, again, for all your hard work, and the board for their hard work and the willingness to back us. So that was definitely it was a win for Caroline County. Now it's in the state's hand now, hopefully with the competitive grant. Like you said, with us having hopefully a very strong grant.
Yeah, I guess one thing, Jason, that we want everybody to keep in mind is the total cost of the project submitted this year is probably in the neighborhood of $22 or $24 million. So without support of VATI, there's no way that I'd see possible. Mr. Thomas may argue with me, but it would be very difficult for the county to try to fund $24 million worth of projects. So we remain hopeful that we'll be successful, and hopefully all that'll work out for us.
And just to put a little bit of that in, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, I definitely wouldn't argue at all that 24 million is almost impossible, but the number that we're looking at for the county is somewhere 2.5, 2.6 million as the county's outlay. So we will probably be able to find that much money somewhere.
Yeah, just to put a little bit of that in perspective, just so everybody has a little bit more information on it. The Dawn project by itself is 168 miles in build out is what the VATI grant has in it. The Woodford, and this is just ABB because that's the numbers that I have here in front of me. The Woodford 17 is an additional 139 miles. And then the RDOF area is 119 miles. So it's not a trivial amount of miles. I mean, we're looking at, close to 500 miles, actually around 450 miles of build out of fiber optic cable in Caroline County. And that is something that ABB, and again, that's the one that I have currently up in front of me. But that is what this will be is fiber to the premises to allow us to be future ready and being able to, we're not pigeonholing ourselves or backing ourselves into a limitation at the get-go. We're going to have that availability for future ready technologies. So. Sorry, David, I just wanted to bring that up. So
I think that's pretty good. If nobody else has any questions on 2022, we'll continue to keep our fingers crossed, pray that we're successful, and we'll be definitely celebrating, if we are. But we have to be careful not to. We have to be very careful to be clear that it is a competitive grant and that we've applied. So just keep that in mind.
I would agree. Good information.
Where we are, from a year ago, we were just starting the school year and everyone was virtual and, there was no hope in sight, but now there's some hope in sight. So that's a good thing.
All right. If nothing else on the 2022 VATI grant, we can move on unless there's any other old business that has not been, if anybody knows of any, we didn't amend the agenda, but I don't know of any other old business.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
I've got one thing. We are talking about grants and the bottom line is access. I asked Mr. Sadler, and in turn, he asked the librarian for the county to get us Wi-Fi hotspots. And those are actually available right now from the library for people who need access and have that kind of phone accessibility in their area. So we do have something that people can use right now if they really have to have something right now. The things we're working on are much faster, much better. But if you don't have anything, the Caroline Library System has something right now.
And also keep in mind that both libraries, or the library at Dawn and the one in Bowling Green have outside hotspots that are available. And I know that's not ideal, but it does give citizens a place where they can go have access to internet if they need to download something for later use. So, and Jason, maybe it would be good if we could get Megan Upshaw, the director of the county library system, on here at a future meeting just to discuss what the library is doing to try to meet some of that demand.
Okay. All right. I've got that written down. All right, so we will move on then to new business. First thing on there is railroad crossings. So we've moved from broadband to railroads now, right? Is that what we're talking about, David?
Yeah, we're doing
Mhm.
broadband like a freight train.
There you go.
Part of the 2022 application, there's a section in there where you have to discuss some leverage, what the county is doing outside of the application to try to move forward with the plan for universal coverage. And this committee decided several meetings ago to work to establish railroad crossings at 4 different railroad crossings that would serve to be strategic areas to help expand broadband, because railroad crossings seem to be very difficult. They're kind of like crossing a river or in this interstate highway, but worse. So in order to speed up the plans for any kind of expansion of broadband, this committee directed me to start working towards railroad crossings. I have met with and we rode out with Atlantic Broadband, since there aren't really any railroad crossings to worry about over in Comcast area. We did a ride through and looked at the 4 crossings, discussed which, for example, which side of the road they would need to be on to serve ABB and their connection. We took pictures of those and we have submitted those to county staff with Public Works, Public Utilities, since they have the most experience in railroad crossing to start work. The only thing I would ask is that at this point, we may need a little nudging to make sure that that doesn't fall apart, Mr. Thomas, because it is part of the leverage that we discussed in the 2022 application. So in the 2022 application, we mentioned that we had started work on possibly establishing 4 railroad crossings. So, I mean, that's something that we need to do just to keep up with part of our commitment that we made in that application. So we may need some help nudging that along because of the amount of work that all the departments are doing. But we need to, it would be, so here's the concern with the amount of time that it takes to get across a railroad. Once the application is, if the VATI grant is awarded, you have 18 months to complete it, and up to 3 years if you know, with the ABB project. But if you fall back to the 18-month time frame that you have to complete the project, if a private company like Atlantic Broadband goes to the railroad and tries to get across, and it can take 12, 14 months just to get that crossing complete. So obviously that throws VATI kind of out of the window when it comes to crossing railroad tracks. So for that reason, you know, we need to try to establish those railroad crossings, and if not just for VATI and for broadband, you know, if we have those crossings in place, who knows? We could make them available for a fee to other vendors that may need to carry data lines under the railroad crossing. So we've started work. We've got the pictures. We've submitted those to Public Works. They've submitted those to an engineer, I believe, because we're trying to determine if those pictures will work or if we have to do engineering drawings for the application submittal process. But it is a long process to submit to get the permits, and it's expensive, but nowhere near the expense of what we've seen. So as soon as we get any kind of numbers back from those, we'll make sure that this committee knows. Of course, the board will know, but we just may need to make sure, if we can, Mr. Thomas, that we try to keep that on the front burner for that department, just to make sure that we don't drop the ball on that part of it.
I will work with Public Works to make sure we stay there. And the 4 crossings we identified earlier, I remember a few, but if you can send me those just to make sure. And my opinion is that we should move ahead with whatever approvals we need now for all of those crossings, because sooner or later we're going to have to use them.
and I believe in talking with Joey, I think there's a cost benefit to doing all four, doing the application for all four at the same time. So I think that's the plan.
Yeah, and the point is we may use 3 of the 4 and never the 4th, or, we may use all 4, but to get that approval process started as soon as possible is a big benefit for all of us. So I will work with them, send me whatever notes you have, and, we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So just to make sure, Mr. Thomas, do you need me to come up to the Board of Supervisors meeting and do anything, or you can handle it from there?
I think this one we can handle it. It's a departmental
Okay.
process right now, so it's going through the county public works.
Okay, perfect.
And I've got a couple of things in public works, like the new fire station, so I'm in contact with them a lot.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir. Any more discussion around the railroad crossings? All right, we'll move down to number 5 then. Well, let me ask one quick question, and this is a process. Because we've brought this, does our committee need to vote on the railroad crossings, or is this just an ask to the Board of Supervisors? Do we need to have any sort of vote or second for our portion?
I believe we took a vote several months ago to move forward with the investigation part of it. So I think we've taken all the action that we need. They have our recommendation, so what'll happen is they'll get all the numbers together and cost, and then it'll have to go back before the board with the recommendation from the Broadband Advisory Committee that we move forward. So
Okay.
What we could do is actually, once we have the numbers, we could actually vote on those to recommend or not recommend to the board, so that we have that recommendation to go along with the request from the board.
Okay.
I believe that's correct. Isn't that correct, Mr. Thomas?
That's fine. We can make a recommendation now to move ahead pending the numbers, but it's the early stages now, so we can wait until we at least get some preliminary numbers. But I doubt this committee is going to say we don't want to move ahead with railroad crossings.
Yeah, no, we've talked about that for a long time, so.
Right. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is membership of the committee. David?
We meet pretty much, we meet every month on the same night. We have some members who have been unable to attend for quite some time. I sent out emails to 2 members and asked, that if they would like to continue to participate, but they were actually appointed by the board. So this committee can't take any action. But I asked them if they wanted to continue to serve, and if not, let us know so that we could work through the process of getting some replacement appointees from the board to replace the 2 members. Neither of the 2 members, Donnie Powell or trying to think what the last one is. Give me just a second here. I can. Desalorius.
John, yeah, John.
So I sent emails to both of those, just letting them know that we appreciate their willingness to serve on the committee. But then we noticed that they hadn't been at a meeting in quite some time, and trying to figure out what their intentions are. I did not receive a response back from either of the 2. John, I think, did respond that he wanted to, or that he would be here tonight. In response to the invitation to tonight's meeting that we sent out Friday. So no response on the initial email. And so at this point, what we're finding is that we have this core group that's basically here tonight, with the exception of maybe Frank, who's here quite a bit. And then outside of that, we could probably use a couple more representatives from different parts of the county. It's important for this committee and the county residents to know that just because we have a plan for universal coverage, the work is not over. In fact, the work is just starting. So we need a good active committee to continue to engage and provide the deliverables that we've agreed to work on as part of those applications and even parts of the 2021 application that was approved. So we know we have some work to do just to make sure we're taking care of our commitments for that as well. So I think at this point, Mr. Thomas, is that something that you can work on a board level to maybe get us a couple of members or even more? We could use 3 or 4 if possible.
Yeah, I think we can put on the board's agenda new appointments for the broadband committee. Whether those 2 drop off or not, we can have a few more people that will participate. So we'll ask for 2, and pending the results of your emails back and forth, we could ask for 2 more. But it doesn't hurt to have all this expertise expanded, which is a great thing. So I'll ask Mr. Cully to add an appointment for the broadband committee for at least 2 more members. I think we still have every district covered.
I don't know that Port Royal is, because I'm on here as an employee. So we could probably use somebody from Port Royal.
Yeah, and I'm on here as Mattapanai, so that's probably the same thing. Okay. And no, Jason Jacobus is Mattapanai, right?
I'm pretty gerrymandered. I forget what my voting is. Milford now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As soon as I said it, I thought you were Mattapanai. Jason Barlow.
I think I
Reedy
should
Church.
be.
I'm
Yeah.
Reedy Church.
Yeah, he's Reedy Church, and Frank Beal is Bowling Green. Where's Mike Bossberg?
Mike
in-
will be Bowling Green as well, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Mike's in Bowling Green. Joe is the schools,
Right.
so he's all over. All right, maybe we can ask for a member from Port Royal, and we don't have anybody really from western part of the county.
Madison,
Madison.
Western, the lakes.
Yeah, Madison would be Lake Caroline. Western Caroline would be Lake Landor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's 3. Then we could ask for 3 just to make sure we've got representation of all the county districts. And they can appoint somebody whether they're actually have access or they don't have access. I think most of us on the call don't have access, so we're all a little more hungry.
Yeah, that would be a big help, Mr. Thomas, if we can. I just I hate to see, and I don't want anybody to think that we've done our plan for universal coverage and we've submitted the applications and our work's over. We've got definitely phase 2 of Comcast coming up that needs work, and then we have, like I said, all the commitments that we have made. So.
All right,
Well, we've got a couple things that are coming up in the agenda too that will play into having more people actually on the committee, that, as we get down to number 7 and number 9 on the agenda, where those are really going to become key things that we need to look at. So, okay. Well, thank you for that. Any other discussion on number 5, the membership of the committee? All right. Comcast phase 2. I know we briefly touched on that in the talk on the VATI 22 grant. what our plan was when we were going over that. David, did you want to expand any more on that, or?
Well, phase two Comcast would be the last portion of our plan for universal coverage that has to be completed. We've already started working with Tyler Day GIS, which I can't say enough about the help that we've received from planning and GIS work. And Tyler, he worked really hard. So we've asked him to produce some maps with some information that we will, as soon as we get those, we'll get those to Comcast and let them start looking at numbers. We had a follow-up conversation with Comcast after the application was submitted, and they remain willing to discuss what phase two would look like for them. So hopefully we can get them addresses early and hopefully get the application ready to be submitted prior to the 5 o'clock on the last day that we've experienced. So hopefully that'll work out. But again, Comcast was extremely helpful in phase one, and we remain hopeful that they'll partner, be willing to partner with us on phase two, which would complete our plan for universal coverage. As we start to get those numbers back and get more of an idea of how many we're looking at, of course, we'll bring it back to this committee. But for right now, we're just in the process of gathering data to make sure that we have everybody covered.
Anything else on that, or are we good? All right, David, thank you for that. Number 7, this is where, Mr. Thomas, where the extra committee members will come into the digital equity and public awareness campaign. David, did you want to update us on that?
Yeah, so if you look through that application, if you have time to look through that application after tonight, I would imagine that we submitted, you'll notice that the other big portion of the application that is asking for support from the county is in the digital equity. In other words, bringing internet connections to houses regardless of income. Both Comcast and Atlantic Broadband have programs to help with low to moderate income houses being able to address that need. So part of what Jason Barlow and myself talked, and this was like right towards the end, looking over the application prior to submittal, I think we were a little bit weak maybe in that portion. So we agreed to, at least myself and him, to try to go out and do some public awareness at different, because we have the challenge of not being able to put a website up, because again, you're trying to get this information out to people who wouldn't necessarily have access to broadband or the website. So we did some brainstorming and came up with some ideas of some ways that we can try to reach people who would not otherwise have access to the information. Comcast has a very, very long list of benefits for low to moderate income people that is fairly easy to qualify for a lot of those. Even like reduced, if you qualify for reduced school lunches, then you would qualify for some of their programs. These programs address the need to be able to connect low to moderate income, not only in the new project areas, but also in the existing. So these are benefits that we could take advantage of prior to the first shovel hitting the ground for the next project. These are projects where people, if they live in the existing footprint of either Comcast or Atlantic Broadband, but they can't afford to have a connection, there are programs that are available to help them with that. So Jason and I came up with a plan that involves several different aspects. One would be the being present at the Harvest Festival and actually handing out some literature to try to make people aware of that, as well as being able to answer any questions that we might have from the public on our plan for universal coverage. So I've worked with Gary Wilson and obtained a space on the county table at the Harvest Festival. So we plan to be there. If any other members would like to be there, you know, the more the merrier. We could divide it down to where we wouldn't have to stay all day. So if you're available to help us out on those days, that would be great. Then also the Frog Level parade has a large business presence there. So that's again in the heart of one of our first areas that we want to try to construct if we're successful on the Valley. So it makes sense to go there and try to give out information. But both of these activities have citizens from all across the county. And I think that's one way for us to try to get out there. The other thing, Mr. Thomas, is in the application, we mentioned that members of the Broadband Advisory Committee would make themselves available to constituents meetings for the board supervisor members. So if you guys want us to come in and talk about plan for universal coverage or digital equity, you know, we would like to make ourselves available for that. And then the third part of the third prong of the digital equity public awareness campaign would be a possible Facebook Live event, knowing that Facebook Live and YouTube Live events reach people on cell phones, and there are a large number of people in the county that have access to Facebook Live and YouTube Live events that wouldn't necessarily be able to go home and log on to a computer with broadband. So we would like to start working on some type of Facebook, YouTube Live event that would answer questions about, again, our plan for universal coverage and digital equity offerings by both companies to try to help people that can't afford to connect. I've ordered materials from Comcast. They have a really good website, and because I decided to partner with them, I've ordered some materials that we'll be able to hand out on some of their options at the Harvest Festival and Frog Level Parade. ABB has those programs, but they don't necessarily have them in writing, so we may end up having to do printed copies of some of their information on the website. Most of their information they have is available on the website, which again, I mentioned the concern that the very people that need those benefits wouldn't necessarily have easy access to their website. So we're just trying to use creative ways to get the word out. Both the plan for universal coverage, we have to be very careful about ETAs of broadband in certain areas, but we can give like rough estimates if for the Valley 2021 project and discuss the 2022 project, and if it was successful, about roughly what kind of timelines. But the main thing is we just have to be creative. So I mean, I think it would be good if anyone on this committee has any ideas. Joseph, the other thing that came up in Jason and myself when we were discussing it was the fact that the schools have access to deliver information out to the community that they can deliver some printed information. So I did send the link to the membership, the partnership site for Comcast to Dr. Calveric to pass along and maybe get the schools, because it was brought to my attention from Comcast that the school systems were not partnering with them on that as of now. So if the schools can partner with them, they can also help get that word out, because I think it's important. For example, and don't quote me on any of this because I don't have the data, but it's all in that application. But Comcast offers some very, very basic internet speeds that would help students have speed necessary to complete work and all at home. One of those programs is $9.99 per month with no connection fee. They even offer some very reasonable purchases of laptops that can be divided out over, several months. So there's a lot of really good programs with Comcast. Between the two, Comcast has the stronger of the two offerings. So the main thing is if we can get that word out to the public in any way possible, I think we can help a lot of people that currently struggle with the fact that they have coax or fiber hanging out at the end of their driveway but can't afford to get it to the house.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe this program's been going on for a while. And we've advertised it with our school's social media sites up even last year. I don't know that applying to be a member was something necessary to gain access to it because we knew about it from our other outlets that support the broadband initiative.
Yeah, I know we published the Comcast one. I think I sent that to Dr. Calvarick before.
That's correct. That's correct. We have.
So any help that you guys can give us about continuing to market that, and then the other thing too is it's kind of new on the horizon because up until recently we weren't aware that ABB had any offerings, but they do as well. So we have some good information that we need to get out to the public, and we just need to be creative on how we get that out. Of course, Mr. Thomas talking it up in the opening statement to the board meeting would not be a bad thing either. So. And he has continued to work to try to get that word out. So the more we can talk about it, the more ideas that we can come up with. One of the other ideas that we had was putting an announcement on the website, but then also putting it on our message boards that are present in the public building to make it people available or aware of those offerings. Other than that, Jason, I think that covers it.
Okay.
What about tax bills? I mean, it's not really too late, but for the December tax bill, we could put another note on there.
The only problem is, Donald, when you say tax bills, you're talking about like personal property and things like that?
Real estate tax bills, the things that get mailed to your house.
Okay. The only reason I was saying like a lot of the real estate ones go to a lot of people's mortgage companies.
Yeah.
We're going through that now.
So, I mean, we could potentially come up with like, personal property taxes or something like that. Maybe that can help out. So,
yeah, I'm just thinking of another way to advertise. And I know we're going to put notes on all the personal property and real estate tax bills in December about a different program. So maybe this is another one we could, that same mailing, it doesn't cost any more to put a couple more lines on it.
Right. No, that's a good point.
And
Very good point.
If any citizen listening to this broadcast thinks that, for example, their churches would benefit from us coming in and talking about it, we'll be glad to do that. We also have support from Nathan Doherty with Comcast for the Facebook, YouTube Live event, so we can have him as a speaker. So just keep that in mind. If anybody in the county feels that they would benefit, or their organization or their community would benefit from the knowledge of these programs, just know that we are ready, willing, and able to help get the word out in any way that we can.
Okay. It's a good thing. All right. If no other discussion on that, we'll move down to the county press release. David, I know I'm calling on you for a lot of these, but you have a lot of the information on these, so I apologize.
Do you have that press release available to share?
Yes, I do.
All right, I'm gonna let you share.
All right. Let me pull it up. It's hidden behind one of my other windows.
You should be able to share now, Jason.
Okay. Share screen. It says I can't share while another participant is sharing.
All right.
There we go. Let's see, we will share that one. Okay, do you see it?
It's kind of chopped off on my screen. I
I just made it larger. Did that help at all?
Are you sharing from an iPad? Because it looks like iPad dimensions.
Nope, sharing from a 32-inch monitor.
Yeah, it's only Windows or something. Did you just share the window or the entire screen?
I just shared the window. I
Yeah,
can
try sharing
actually,
the entire screen.
yeah. Let me know if that's any better.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
32
Interesting.
inch monitor, nice.
All right. So this was a press release that was released out last Wednesday. Is that right, David?
Yep, 15th.
Okay. So this went out to multiple news outlets, also posted on the county website, talking about the proposal that we're looking to enter into with the VATI grant. So this is available out there on the website, the county website. Anything specific you want to talk in here, David? Stuff that we haven't covered already?
This pretty much gives the numbers for the grant amounts that we're asking for, and so it's very specific. Gives a very good outline of the program itself. Just know that currently this is up on the county website. We're most likely planning to use this as kind of a placeholder and establish a full-fledged broadband section of the website so that we can try to keep the county informed of our actions and make sure that the county citizens are aware that the Board of Supervisors is supporting, trying to get an internet solution, and they're working hard. One of the early actions that they took was establishment of this actual committee, and that showed the true support that we're getting from the board and trying to address the problem. If anybody would like to see that, you can go to the Caroline County website, look it up. You can even copy and paste the link right up there. I don't know if can you copy from up shared? But you can copy that and share it in the chat session, everyone. But that is the official release, that press release that was made in reference to us applying for VATI. The other thing too is I think they're planning a pretty good ribbon cutting ceremony on the 2021 project, Mr. Thomas, at some point, to try to get some government officials that have been supportive, such as I guess the probably the governor or different Rob Whitman and different people that have been supportive of the rural broadband project. So just keep your eye out for that. That's coming down, and that's for the 2021 project. And if everything goes as well and our prayers are answered, then we'll be doing the same thing for 2022.
Perfect. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing now, David, unless there's any questions, cares, comments. The only thing I did highlight was this underlined one. None of the projects described above will be possible without the awarding of the VATI grant funds. So just wanted to highlight that, and it is underlined inside of this. So, so I'll go ahead and stop sharing if you want to go ahead and take that over, David. So we've got one more to talk about, and I can go ahead and start talking while you bring up the screen share on that one. And that is around we would like to come up with a logo for the universal coverage for this committee. So that way, as we go and talk at different locations or localities, that we have some sort of logo that we can, have on banners or flyers or anything like that. So, did you want to have any discussion around that?
Jason, if you want to bring up some of the ideas you had about possibly involving the schools or different.
Okay. Yeah. So, I had spoken to my wife, who said that the high school does have access to a lot of digital equipment and being able to do this with like the art department. So I don't know whether the schools would be interested in that, or whether there would be somebody that we can contact there and maybe see, if that's a possibility. Almost make it a challenge. Come up with it. We can vote on it as a committee as we see the different logos that come in. Use that as the logo for connecting Caroline County to the internet, making universal coverage. So I don't know whether anybody has any ideas or any comments on that, or whether you think using the school would be a good idea. Or
Joseph, what are your thoughts about that?
Just send me an email of what you want. We have a high school art teacher that's graphics, and the students are working on something else. But I'm sure that something like this would maybe be up their alley for like a logo or something of that nature. So send me an email of exactly what you intend to have, or a description of what you're looking for, and let them design several things. I can get with Dr. Monroe to see if that's something we can do.
thank you. I would show my crude drawing with my brother-in-law on the logo, but ours was just scratched out on a piece of paper. So I'm sure throwing it up in Photoshop or something like that would be so much better. So it'd be easier to ship that around too.
Well, I think that class is something that'd be another project for them that would be worth their while.
Yeah. And they'll be giving back to the community too. So cool. David, you and I can work on that. Does anybody on this committee have any ideas as far as things that we would require, you guys would like to see in the logo?
Mr. Thomas, do you know, would there be a problem if we use, for example, the center of the county logo as part of it? Do you know if copyright or anything on that we would have to be careful of?
You mean the map part or
The map part
One-
of it.
yeah, of course we can use the map part. I think if the logo involves the county seal or something, you'd probably have to get permission from the Board of Supervisors, which probably wouldn't be a problem.
So we would just ask that probably whatever we decide here, we just send it to the board for their approval and permission to use it. 'Cause some of the Jason had a really good, it was just a drawing, but it was actually a really good idea that I thought would look good. So I've got a feeling that a lot of the ideas that they come up with may involve, part of that logo, at least the center portion of it. So.
Yeah.
Did you want me to try and bring that up, David?
If you want to bring that up just to get people's minds working a little bit, that might not be a bad idea.
All right, give me 1 second.
Let me stop the share again. Now, we'll probably end up being without this for at least one of the two areas that we plan to go to, but I think it's something that we need to help promote universal coverage, from here on.
I'm going to picture. Is it coming up?
When all else fails, we'll cheat and go this way. I just emailed it to myself. Share the screen, number 3, share. Can everybody see my screen?
Mr. Thomas is muted, so.
Can you send that to me in email too?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I was going to say that looks just like the county shield.
Well, so what we did is we actually chose different things like this right here is the farm, you know, for farming equipment, things like that, school systems, you know, houses, things like that, because we're connecting those. We were trying to stay away from using the county shield just for copyright pieces, plus
Just
also to, oh, no, but that was our thinking behind it is we didn't want to tie it directly to the county. My thought was originally, you know, we put a Cat5 connection on the end of here, but the other thing I was thinking about is you could draw little lines coming off of here that are, you know, more lit up to show fiber optic, because that's what we're putting to everybody's premises. There's a fiber optic cable, 1, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yeah, I can send this to you guys. And we were also thinking maybe on the outside, this was going above and beyond just what we were sketching out, but 1s and 0s to be digital. But again, that's potentially going too far with it. But we also, the cables, and this was totally by accident as we were doing it, actually made a heart. So there you go. You know, that throws that in there too. So yeah, I can send this over to you. And, you know, that can be like one of the ideas, but that's just something that we kind of threw together.
That's actually really good.
I like it.
Yeah, it is. Only thing I'd say is keep the cat connection and maybe add another one that said, you know, that's the laser the fiber connection.
Yeah, you could change this one over to be your Cat5 connection. And
Right.
then have this one going out, so that way it shows the county is connected by Ethernet, and then it's connected out to the world through fiber optic cable. I don't know. It's
that's a real good concept. The house needs a little bit of work.
Jason, hey.
sorry. That was a Friday night at 12 or at 10:51 at night.
No,
Jason,
but that's a great concept.
Jason, can you take care of getting that email to Joseph so he can work with the schools on that?
Yes, I will take care of that tonight, and then or sometime first part of this week, and then we'll go from there.
I would like to apologize for not having the minutes of that previous meeting, but just keep in mind, I don't take shorthand. So the way I have to do meeting minutes is go back and watch broadcasts of the previous meeting. And when the meeting's an hour and a half, it's going to take me an hour and a half to do the minutes of that meeting. An hour and a half has been very precious chunk of time for the last week or so. So I apologize.
You had more important things to do than the minutes from our hour and a half meeting. We had this deadline to meet, and you guys moved mountains to get that done. So thank you so much for that. The minutes can wait.
If we have anybody on the committee who would like to volunteer to work on those minutes, that would be helpful. But if not, I'll continue to do them. All right, let me reshare the screen so we can talk about the best part of the meeting.
The next one.
Yep, and adjournment. Guys, again, I would like to say I appreciate all of the work of everybody on this committee. We covered a lot of mileage in a very short period of time, and I think that we figured out a way, at least a strategy that will help us get to where we want to go. So, and that's what we needed from you guys, and without everybody's support here, it would not have been possible.
Definitely an honor and a pleasure to be on this committee and getting things done like this for the county. It's something that we've needed for a while. So it's good to see it coming, you know, the county actually taking steps to pursue avenues for this. So. All right, So with that, we'll talk about our next meeting. I've got Monday, the 18th as the third Wednesday or third Monday, sorry, different meeting. Third Monday in October. Does that work for everybody?
At 7 p.m. and based on the attendance that we had at the one that we tried in person and due to the ongoing pandemic, I think we should stick with the Zoom live stream format, but if nobody objects.
All right. Is everybody
Good
good
for
with
me.
that?
Good for me.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, no other discussion. We'll go ahead and end this meeting, and we will see everybody on the 18th for our next meeting.
Thank you,
Make a
guys.
motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
We got a second? All
Second.
right. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right.
All right. All
Thank you.
opposed, you can stay on the call.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you, guys.
See y'all later.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.